If I were to ask you right now to look up how long the flu lasts, statistics would show 1 to 2 weeks. Or if I were to ask you to search for how long strep throat affects a person, you would find that it lasts about 4 to 5 days. But if I were to ask you at this very moment to look up how long a person fights a chronic illness, you wouldn't find an answer, because there isn't one. I realized this all too well when I fell ill one day after school in the 4th grade. At the age of 10, after getting multiple upper and lower endoscopies, which are visual examinations of the interior structures of the body using an endoscope, seeing countless amounts of doctors, and visiting Cincinnati Children's Hospital 3 times over a period of 6 months, my symptoms finally had a name. I was diagnosed with an eosinophilic disorder, a disease that created too many eosinophils in my blood system, causing them to spread throughout various parts of my body, giving me chronic pain, inflammation, fatigue, nausea, symptoms that I dealt with for 4 years. Today, there are still no words I can come up with to describe how alone and misunderstood I felt during this time in my life. It was as if the world had just picked me up and dropped me off into some alternate universe so different and scary and just said, here you go, deal with it. Most children who get diagnosed with a chronic or terminal illness are never expecting it. One day they could be completely fine, and the next their world is flipped upside down and they're left to deal with the repercussions. 5 years ago, I was completely fine and playing with all of my friends at recess. The next thing I knew, I was in the car driving to Dell Children's Hospital because I couldn't lift my legs. Even though my family and friends were there to console me during this time, I still felt as if there was a barrier between us, blocking the connections we were trying to make because they weren't physically going through it with me. By 2012, I was coming to my wit's end, and the world I was living in always seemed to be engulfed in never-ending darkness. I was moving back and forth through Elizabeth Kolber-Ross's 5 stages of grief: denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and I was struggling with acceptance. That was until I met Desiree. During the September of my 6th grade year, I was lucky enough to be one of the first children in Cheyenne's Champions for Children, also known as CC4C, an organization started by our close family friend Talia Frazier after her daughter fought a rare disorder. This foundation pairs children with undiagnosed and rare conditions to athletes and high school teams around Austin in order to give the child the needed inspiration and motivation to keep moving forward. Thankfully, I was paired with Desiree Ficker, an American long-distance runner and professional triathlete. And yes, she's even more amazing in person than I just described her to be here. Many of you have probably heard of the expression, you have to walk a mile in someone else's shoes before you can fully understand what their life is like. And that's completely true. I know most people will read a magazine article or see a news story talking about a child who is maybe battling cancer or fighting a mysterious illness, and you think to yourself, I couldn't imagine going through that, or I couldn't imagine seeing someone I know go through that. One cannot grasp how it feels to have a chronic illness until you actually experience it yourself. After I met Desiree, I began thinking more and more about that expression, and I remember being so amazed at how similar our stories actually were. After comparing multiple sources addressing what it takes to be a runner, I realized that everything you need to be an athlete completely represents what it is like to be sick. You have to train and prepare your body every day for great tests of physical and emotional endurance. You have to keep nourished, build your stamina, and channel all of your energy, strength, and courage when it comes to finishing your race. There's a quote from a blog that I once read stating, "It's hard to imagine that people who want and put their minds to running a marathon get tired of training, but they do." So just imagine how chronically ill people feel. They're training for something they didn't ask and weren't prepared for. Desiree got tired and might have even felt like quitting. I got tired and definitely felt like just surrendering and giving up all hope of ever getting better. But I knew I couldn't. If I was to ever make it to my finish line, I needed to look at Desiree's strength and courage when it came to training for a triathlon and use it to fight my illness head on. Many people have asked me over the years if I've ever wanted to change what I went through, and my answer still to this day is absolutely not. My illness has allowed me to see the world in so many different colors and has made me appreciate the little things in life and count each milestone I've achieved. I would have never met the people that impacted my life in a way I will never be able to fully understand, and I don't think I would be the person I am today without having to do what I did. Being diagnosed with my illness was not the biggest hurdle I had to jump over. It was the struggle of never knowing where my race would end. I didn't know if I was running in a 5K, a 10K, or maybe even an Ironman. But when I got to talk to Desiree and listen to how she finished that last excruciating mile, I could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I understood that my life had a purpose. The things people go through, whether they be silly circumstances or just fate, impact us all in ways we will never be able to fully comprehend. My illness has enabled me, not disabled me, and I will forever be grateful for that. So what I'm trying to say to you all today is, instead of looking at the negative things in your life as a burden, embrace them and never let them diminish who you are. Because you never know when life will throw a curveball on your master plan, and you will need the connections you've made with others to help pick you up off of the ground. Thank you.